I'm going to call to order the Effingham Board of Commissioners meeting this August 20, 2019 at 5 o'clock. I'm going to ask everyone if they please stand for the invocation, and after the invocation, I'll further give an introduction to against 2 weeks, and I'll plan to read it. Father, we are so thankful again to be here tonight amongst friends of this community and leaders of this community to listen and discern and make decisions. Father, we pray that you would guide us in the decisions we make, give us ears to hear and to respond appropriately. We thank you for your presence and your blessings to this community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Chairman, board members, and all in the audience, tonight we have with us Carson Roberts. Carson is a 12th grader at Effingham County High School. He is the 4-H president, and he's also on the shotgun team. Carson, if you will lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carson.
Thank you so much for being here tonight and participation. We appreciate it. We have our agenda before us. Is there any corrections or additions to the agenda? Do you have a motion to approve the agenda presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Walker to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. We have our agenda. First item is consideration to approve the August 6, 2019 millage minutes, August 6, 2019 special call meeting minutes, and the August 6, 2019 regular commissioner meeting minutes. I've read those minutes and believe they're an accurate presentation of our meetings and discussion votes. Any corrections or additions?
Mr. Chairman, I will abstain from voting because I was not here.
Very good. So the clerk will know that Mr. Deloach is abstaining from voting on these. And also, I think Mr. Kiefer left part of this meeting, the 6th.
It's his choice.
So it'll be your choice.
Yeah, I have no problem voting on approving.
Okay, very good. So a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve as read.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Floyd to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. And then we have an abstention with Mr. Deloach. And welcome our public tonight. It's always good to have participation and people to come and be a part of this decision-making process. I hope you'll keep your comments, if you would, to the agenda items only. If you can limit your comments to 2 or 3 minutes, that's always helpful, because others may want to speak to an item on the agenda as well. All the documents for this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website, so I hope you had a chance to review those and are prepared for any contributions tonight. With that, we'll go into the public hearing for 5:30, so we're going to go into old business. Item number 1 of the old business is the public planning board recommends approving an application by Larry and Gail Kelly to rezone 2 acres located at 193 Jabez Road from AR1 to AR2 to allow for 2 separate home sites. Map number 352, parcel number 71st district. This was tabled at our July 16th meeting.
Good evening, Teresa Concanon, County Planner. At the meeting, this was tabled because the parcel was 2 acres when it was originally purchased. Then there was a road widening, some acreage was lost. And it can be rezoned, that's fine, it's 1.93 acres. However, it couldn't be split, or at least the health department wouldn't be able to sign a plat that created a lot of less than 1 acre, given that there were well and septic on each side. There are currently 2 homes on this. So we, the commissioners decided to table this so we could do additional research and find out what was the kind of history of the splitting of adjacent parcels and what was the history of the road widening. So I did some research at the courthouse and discovered that basically, with evidence of utility easement plats that are on file, adjacent parcels that also started off as 2 acres were split at some point without a plat, We don't really know the whole history, but there has been precedent of other parcels splitting while they may or may not have been 1 acre. In any event, all of that information was provided to the health department, and Darrell O'Neill, the director, said that given that the road widening was what caused the acreage reduction, he would be able to sign a plat if the commissioners, if you decided to rezone it, allowing the split. And the reason for the split is, of course, that one of the homes is to be replaced with one of the mobile homes is to be replaced with a stick-built, and in order to get financing, the parcel has to be in that homeowner's name. So it's a lot of
Right, hold up, I think basically was getting the state to sign off.
Is this the mother and daughter?
Yes.
Right, it came
Yeah,
before
and
us?
it came
Yeah.
back, and it's a positive outcome, you know, because at first we were going to have to deny, but the health department working with us.
Yeah, I don't believe there was any concerns from our board other than.
Right, we could,
Yeah.
So staff is recommending alternative 1. Any other discussion or questions? Have a motion for alternative 1.
make a motion for alternative one.
Second.
Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Kiefer for alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. We'll go ahead to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Larry and Gail Kelly to rezone 2 acres located at 193 J. Les Road, J. Les Jones Road, from AR1 to AR2 to allow for 2 separate home sites, map number 352, parcel 57, First District. Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve second reading. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Item number 3 of old business, consideration to approve to renew the operation maintenance consulting service agreement on engineering services for EOM operations, a division of EOM Public Works LLC, tabled at the July 16, 2019 meeting.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, Purchasing Agent. The board has an operations, maintenance and consulting services agreement in place with EOM for civil engineering, consulting and planning services. The term is July 1st, 2018 for 1 year with an additional 1-year renewal. This amendment renews the agreement running from September the 1st, 2019 to June the 30th, 2020. It increases the base monthly fee by $2,541.67 to $27,083.33, and it lists the scope of services. It also allows for both parties to renegotiate the base fee should the county decide to hire a staff engineer. As the amendment has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney and funds are budgeted, staff recommends alternative 1. Any questions?
Questions or discussion?
I think that's what we did last time, we had staff engineer.
And you have an attorney to make sure you get the document.
Correct. Yes, sir.
We've given everything else. Do you have a motion to approve alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries.
Thank you.
Moving to our new business. First item for new business is a tax refund. Consideration to approve a tax refund request for Allen and Amy Nixon for a property located at 190 Circle Road, map number 396, parcel number 51. Who's going to do those?
Jennifer Kynes, I work at the tax assessor's office.
Welcome.
Thank you. We have a property that is at 190 Zipper Road for an Alan Dale Mixon and Amy Mixon. And Mr. Mixon came to the office because he had an issue with his heated square feet. When we investigated, and we did find that our office was overcharging him for his overage, and we did correct that for the 2020 tax year. We could not correct it for the 2019 tax year because an appeal had never been filed through this, and when we were looking on field review, there was no way for us to tell that there was not living space above. There was 3 windows in the house. There's one in the top, on the side, and in the back that would lead us to believe that that property did have a second floor. That house did have a second floor. So we were not able to to correct that for the 2019 tax year. We did correct it for 220. Mr. Mixon was concerned that he did not know that he could find on our website the square footage. So we do send out a pamphlet, and on that pamphlet we did add that if you have concerns, you can go on our county website to look up information. So we did listen to his concern, and those brochures go out in all of our assessment notices. Those brochures are left at every house that a field appraiser does visit.
Very good. Any questions or discussion from the Board of Commission? Mr. Mixon, here tonight, do you want to speak? I'm in agreement with the tax office. I look at this again, a couple of reasons. We all obviously that once the digest goes out, taxes can be lowered by property values, and it affects everybody to do it later. There is an appeal process. So I'm with you. 2020 ought to be the very adjustment, because you adjusted to.
We did do for 2020. We did tell Mr. Mixon that's what we would do.
So I think the alternative one is to deny the refund.
Yes, sir.
Motion.
Alternative two.
Alternative two is denied.
No issue tax refund for alternative two.
Okay. Yep, I'm sorry, alternative two is to deny. Do you have a motion for alternative two?
Make a motion to approve alternative two.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve alternative two. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. Any carries. Thank you. Consideration of item number 2 in new business, consideration to approve a resolution to levy the 2019 taxes.
Good evening, Christy Carpenter, Finance Director. We're here tonight to request, I think you will see items 2, 3, and 4 to levy the 2019 taxes. We have completed the 3 public hearings that we needed for that, so we just need to have approval to levy those and then sign the PT 35 and the PT 32.
So with this item, the alternative one is approve the county developing a village for just the unincorporated residents, right?
That's right.
Any questions or discussions? Have a motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lopez, second Mr. Deloach, to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. It carries. And I think we can just zip through these because you've already introduced them, if that's okay.
And you should have all the paperwork with you that breaks down those millage.
Do we need a separate motion on each one of these?
Yes, sir.
We do? Okay, so we need a motion, let's see it. I'm just going to do it this way. Motion to approve county village rate certificate form, tax form 2019 PT 35. Have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. It carries. Next item is a motion to approve the computation of the millage rate rollback form for tax year 2019. Says 18.
18.
I think
It
it's
should be 19, shouldn't it?
19.
19, that is PT-32. Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the 2019 PT-32 form.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loach, second by Mr. Loper. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. It carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, consideration to renew the Public Works Operation Maintenance Service Agreement with EOM Operations, a division of EOM Public Works LLC.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, Purchasing Agent. The county has a Public Works Operations Management Services Agreement in place with EOM. The agreement term is June 20th, 2017 for 1 year, with 2 additional 1-year renewals. Amendment number 1, written in 2018, allows for 5 additional 1-year renewals, which are subject to funds being appropriated in the budget. As funds have been appropriated in the current budget, staff are requesting approval of this amendment to renew the contract starting September the 1st, 2019 and terminating June 30th, 2020. The amendment allows for an increase in the base fee of $54,000, increasing the annual fee to $2,178,000. As funding is available and the amendment has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney, staff recommend alternative number 1. Any questions?
Just $2,178,000, that's everything that we pay EOM, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Other than engineering.
You right?
Other than engineering.
Yes.
Yeah, separate from the engineering.
All right, any other discussion? Have a motion for alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve all number 1, say.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Kiefer to approve alternative number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, consideration to authorize an exchange of office space on the second floor of the old courthouse. This exchange would impact the district attorney and his staff, the tax assessor, and the public investigator.
Mr. Chairman, Tim Callahan, County Administrator. The district attorney had approached my predecessor about the need for additional space. We had some additional space on the second floor of the old courthouse. We have since requested a swap of space between the public defender's office and the DA, and that would provide adequate space for what the DA needs now, and also provide adequate space for the public defender. And the public defender is here, Renata Jallo, and she supports the move.
Very good. And we appreciate your willingness to be flexible. That's really gracious. Thank you so much. Any questions or discussions about the rearrangement of the office space? Is there an alternative 1? Is there a recognition and motion for alternative 1?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Loper to approve alternative 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries. Item number 7, consideration to issue a purchase order for the purchase of 1 new ambulance, custom truck, and body works.
Good evening, Fiona Charlton, purchasing agent. The county put out a bid in 2017 for the purchase of new ambulances, one for 2017, one for 2018, and one for 2019. Custom Truck and Body Works were awarded the bid and have provided the county with a new ambulance in 2017 and one in 2018. The quote that you have in your packets for the 2019 ambulance is $147,967. But I found out this afternoon, this has increased to $152,817 due to changes that will be put into place within the year by the Commission on Accreditation of Ambulance Services. The changes relate to the performance loading system and will eventually be needed in all trucks. To install the system during the build, it will cost approximately $4,850. To install after the build, it will cost approximately $5,500 plus downtime. As $150,000 is approved in SCROST for the ambulance, a budget amendment can be brought to you at the next meeting. So I recommend alternative 1, approval of the purchase order in the amount of $152,817.
Seems good. We have to do it, so might as well do it now and save it. Any questions or discussions? Motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion for alternative number 1.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd for alternative number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, consideration to approve the first reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 66, Section 66.33, waste disposal of the Effingham County Code of Ordinances.
I can do it from here. Just hold the microphone for you. Diane Proudfoot, zoning administrator. The reason this issue's come up, we've had some concerns and some calls on construction debris being, and especially in Covered Bridge, has brought up this issue of being able to enforce it more strictly than we are. So that has brought this amendment about.
Okay, thank you so much for doing this. I believe you've read this.
I have. I'm going to make a couple of changes, probably do the wording, the substance is still the same. Since we have to have 2 readings, it'd be
questions or discussion? Do you have a motion for alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper to approve alternative one. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Item number 9, consideration to submit a grant application to Petco Foundation for adoption preparation activities.
Christy Carpenter, Finance Agent, Finance Director. It's been a long day. We're asking for permission to submit the grant application for Petco. The maximum request is $85,000, and that's what we plan to submit. Last year, when we did that, we received $15,000. So we would like to do it again. The application deadline is September 26th. There's no matches if we get it, so there's no out-of-pocket to the county. So we're requesting alternative one.
Max, that's a good one. Any questions or discussions, Ms. Christie? Motion for alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper. Alternative one, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 10, consideration to approve to terminate the fire protection service agreement effective September 30th, 2020 with the City of Lincoln anticipating revised agreement. And I'll introduce this one. This is really procedure. If I see the mayor is with us tonight from City of Lincoln, and we personally thank you, and the board wants to thank you as well for the excellent fire service that Lincoln has provided for many years through a growing community. They provide a service at a very good price and good protection. We've never had any complaints, so we want to continue to cooperate and work with them for the best countywide fire service. We can have a fire service, us having our fire service, and still cooperate with the automatic aid operations in the future for the best service. What we're looking at now is we're in the middle of service delivery, so we'll make sure everybody understands what's happening here. We're looking at the future. We're looking at our comp plan and our projections of growth in the south end, and the county is wanting to provide more firefighters in the south end of the county. And so with that in mind, we are in the process of renegotiating the services that the county and Lincoln will service together. This will be a transitional process, but this allows us to work on a new agreement on the service delivery and have that agreement in place prior to the end of this termination period of 2020, which we anticipate it'll be a cooperative effort for another at least a couple of 3 years as we transition into more firefighters in the south end of the county. But I want to make sure everybody understands that we appreciate the City of Lincoln and the fire department, what they do, and we want to continue to cooperate together for the best fire service anywhere around. So that's what this is about, just speeding that process, because we cannot enter into a new agreement until this one is terminated. So it won't terminate for another year, but it gives us the process to go through and provide a new agreement that may be the needs better for the future. Any questions or discussions? Go ahead and totally confused. Okay. All right, we have a motion to approve the termination letter in lieu of a new agreement being provided.
Make a motion to approve the termination letter.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Deloach to approve the termination letter. Once again, with the view that we're going to have a new agreement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, no. And it carries. Item number 11, consideration to approve a utility relocation agreement with Georgia Power to relocate a power pole at Fort Howard and Odessa Roundabout.
Chairman, I'll abstain from voting on the floor.
You might have a connection with Georgia
Yeah.
Power. There's been Mr. Floyd was saying for discussion from the bench, and if you want to respond from the citizens, you're welcome to go out there and discuss it. All right, these are the things for discussion and voting. All right, who's handling this one?
The Effingham County Board of Commissioners approved a contract to construct a roundabout at the intersection of Fort Howard Road and Old Augusta Road. Power pole is in conflict with the construction activities. Georgia Power has drafted a utility relocation agreement for consideration and approval by the board this evening. The total estimated cost for relocation is $26,278. The agreement has been reviewed and approved by the county attorney.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Marshall, you get a little discount on that or what?
Yes, they give it. That's the best deal I could get.
How many power poles are you talking?
How many power poles we talking?
There is one power pole that is in conflict.
I don't think we have the
We have another
alternative.
Georgia power.
I'm sure there's more, I'm sure there's more involved.
I don't think we have any competition.
No alternative to it.
I'm sure that's what we need.
Any other question, discussion, or motion for alternative one?
Make a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Keeper for alternative one. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. And it carries. Move the fire pole. And we'll vote that,
Go for your public hearing.
Mr. Floyd, abstain.
My salary's covered for.
It's 5:30, so we're going to stop with the, item number 11, and go back to our public hearing, which should take just a minute, and then come back. A public hearing for our comp plan. Who is making that presentation?
I will make a mention, Mr. Chairman, as you stated, this is the final draft that is to be presented to DCA. This public hearing is to allow for comments from our citizens. It's also time for the board and staff to review the plan. We can make changes up until October is what I'm told by the regional commission. A copy of this plan was posted on our website. There's also a copy in our lobby, and a copy has been provided to you all. So if you could take some time and get a look at it and see if there are any changes that you would like to make before it's submitted. I'd also like to open the floor for our town planner for any comments she may have.
I'm reviewing it and I have no comments at this time. I've been reviewing it, and there are portions of it that I actually worked with the Regional Commission on directly, the work program and report of accomplishments, so I'm pretty confident about those. But as far as any other input and character areas, any of the maps, we really would value input from everybody.
Okay, very good. We'll open the public hearing and see if there's any comments from the public this time. Anyone, any comments to the items in the comp plan? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll close the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
I would like to comment. I hope everybody will look at it, because I think that this needs to be a tool going forward. And actually, it may not drive all zoning matters, but it's certainly an important.
It's definitely important. It's our plan for the next 20 years. So. Very
About
important.
growth, we need to plan growth, and that's why we have taken steps to bring the plan along for a time, so that we can get ahead of that growth. We've got to know what's in this comp plan. Use it as a master plan. Okay, any comments? Mr. Keeper, we'll go to number 12, so we left off. New business, consideration to approve to reappoint Linda McDaniel to the Department of Family and Children's Services, DFACS Board of the 3rd District. Any questions or discussion?
Good.
Make a motion to approve. Got a sidebar.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I am so sorry. We received notification from DFACS that Ms. McDaniel's term has expired as of June 30th. This is a 5-year appointment, so if reappointed, she will serve until June 30th of 2024. Ms. McDaniel is here, and I believe, I understand that she wishes to return to that board.
She's so great.
seeing your eyes and objections, so I'm assuming that was correct. So the recommendation is alternative 1 to approve Ms. McDaniel's.
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Carries. Item 13 is travel consideration to approve commission travel for ACCG Legislative Leadership Conference in Athens and appoint a board member as a voting delegate.
Yes, sir. This is an annual conference held by the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia. This year it's held in Athens. Those dates are October 9th through October 11th. We do have a couple of commissioners that are interested in attending this conference. During this time, we also have to appoint a board member as a voting delegate for us. The recommendation, because these are the two that are going, would be Commissioner Deloach or Commissioner Loper. So you would need to vote for one of the two.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Loper, who?
Deloach.
Okay, very good.
I'm not doing that meeting.
I'm going to one. Either one would do a great job. Mr. Loach has been involved in a lot of things in the committees and other meetings, and so I'm going to take a motion to approve him as the voting delegate.
And approve the draft.
Okay, so a motion by motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Burdette to approve Mr. Deloach as the voting delegate. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that carries. Does that have a motion to approve the travel?
Yes, sir.
Have a motion to approve the travel? Motion Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Burdette to approve alternative 1, which is the travel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. We have 2 votes in that item. I think the last item on the agenda, before we get to our zoning, is comp plan consideration to approve submit the final draft of the joint comprehensive plan to the Department of Community Affairs, GCA, and authorize the chairman to sign the cover letter accompanying the plan. Since we've had a public hearing, I'll just entertain a motion to submit this draft plan. Okay.
Second.
Motion Mr. Floyd, second Mr. Keeper, for alternative 1 to submit the draft plan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And it carries. That concludes the regular business. We'll spend some time on staff report before we get into our planning board meeting. Anything about planning board?
Mr. Chairman, I've included the administrative reports, mostly events, and also another copy of the audit calendar. One event that I forgot to mention is Thursday, September 12th. It will be a 40-year anniversary for the emergency medical service, coupled with a 10-year anniversary for our MAC, our multi-agency call center. That'll be at the dining hall at the Methodist Campground.
We'll have some time together this weekend so we can look at other administrative items, can't we? Okay. My clerk, we have your report. You can make any comments?
That's part of what was on my remind. Just reminders about the retreats this week, and also the NAACP Gala that will be held on September 7th at 6 at the New Ebenezer Retreat, as well the Hospital Jubilee Gala on September 21st across the street here at the local memorial. You've also been provided a copy of your monthly report from EOM for the month of July, and a reminder of the leadership conference for those who are there. And that's everything.
Any questions or comments for our clerk? I see we have a report, monthly report from EOM. Kristen, if you want to make any comments, or just want to receive this for now? And then we'll have some time together over the weekend.
Kristen, EOM Operations. Just a few highlights. You may have noticed if you've gone down Fort Howard Road, the Grace Lane is almost complete. They got to do the chip and seal layer, so the base and pipe and all that has been installed. We've got some engineering updates for you in the packet. It should include your plan review, some updates on the capital projects, one being Fort Howard. One of the things was the utility agreement that y'all voted on today. Blue Jay Road, as you know, the proposals have gone out. We're also working on the right-of-way acquisitions, and a proposal has been sent and approval for that.
For the water line?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's a combination. We've got the water line going out and the intersection. Right-of-way acquisitions is for the actual intersection, and then the proposals for the RFQ is for the Blue Jay Loop A that we've got going out. Let's see, Old Augusta Road striping, that has been completed. We actually have noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed it going down, there are some of the RPMs that are missing. We've already sent a notice to the contractor on that. It's within their warranty period, so they're going to replace those. We're wrapping up the 2018 punch items for the LMIG. There's a few items that they're going to address and take care of, and that should be complete there. We're also working on some drainage improvements around the IDA, Staffordshire area, and we've got some updates forthcoming in the retreat for you as well on that. So, anything specific that you have on request of projects?
Anything on McCall Road? I know you kind of jumped in there in the middle of that one.
For which part of McCall Road? We got a
First
couple
part of
things.
it where it's,
They've got a little bit of the grading and erosion left on that, so that project is getting close to being completed. So, yeah. They had to do a few lateral relocations as well.
Who's going to be joining us from BOM?
Eric Larson, myself, Stanley, and then Roberto.
Very good. Thank you. And well, first of the staff, anybody else has anything that they want to bring to our attention this evening?
good, sir.
Okay. I'll see what the board might have. Mr. Lutz?
I don't have anything.
I'll just point one thing out, just want to let y'all know, through all the talks with the city of Guyton, with the fire department situation, just want to say that our chief, Tim Hodges, I think he's done a really good job of representing us. He did a really good job in the meetings, in the special call meetings. Just want to give kudos to him.
He's worked really hard. It's really great. Thank you so much for your part in that too. I appreciate it.
Mr. Jack mentioned something about a deputy. You guys can consider that. I think it'd be a great idea. Think about that myself. After more meetings.
Yeah, we're talking about in this world we live in, it might be good to think about having an officer at the door that will come in and then sit in the back. You might just
Reach out to the sheriff.
sheriff and just see what he can do then for that. In your packet, I think the clerk has done an excellent job of giving us. You want to talk about that? Not really? Okay. An outline for our workshop. So we look forward to meeting with our commissioners on Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday. Do some good planning, and we're excited about that. It's for me, so it'll be a good time to really get some good work done and get some good planning. Anything I have all the way to the workshop to bring up at that time. Let's go ahead and take care of the executive session minutes. So we have we don't have any executive session. I was going to pull it up. Okay, very good. So item number 13, consideration to approve the August 6, 2019 executive session minutes. Got a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Keeper, to approve the executive session minutes of August 6th. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. That concludes our regular business. So what we will do is take a break. We can't have the public hearing until 6 o'clock. Unless there's any other discussion, I'll take a 15-minute break. And back at 6 o'clock. Okay. We'll break. We're going to go back into regular session. Before we move into our planning board, I think there's a little bit of a mix-up. Mr. Nixon is not here. We need to address his issue tonight. I said I'd give you a few minutes if you would like to address the board for his thoughts and concerns that he had regarding that item of tax rebate.
Thank you very much for giving me the time. Sorry about the confusion. Just wanted to point out this year's tax assessment on my property and house. I actually sent an appeal this year, and it was kind of by accident. I didn't realize how the tax process worked on the house. I seen that, what my house was assessed at. And what got us started was we started to look at another county to move into and sell our house. And someone told me you should go on to tax assessor website and look and see what that house is worth in another county. I didn't even know it existed. So I did that. Then I went to my house. And I see where I've been charged for 4,100 square foot of finished living space. And my house is only 3,100 square feet. I may be off on the numbers a little bit. I'm pretty sure you have those in front of you. What I have though is a 2-story house, which an unfinished attic is what it is, but I have windows up there. So I guess when the assessment was done in 2004, I guess there's a law where you just walk around and you measure the outside of the building, and if there's a window, it's assumed that that must be living space. And maybe there's nothing I can do now, but I'd like to say that I don't really think that's a fair assessment. This might not be important, but I'm an electrical engineer and I'm back in school for my master's, and this is not very comprehensive to me. This is not what I do, so I don't sit there and look through it. The piece of paper that I got did not say that I'm paying taxes on 4,100 square foot. It just says, do you approve of your taxes? You can see your millage rate. It's not very intuitive. So if you even take me out of the picture, I'm wondering about our older residents here that we're responsible for. How do they know what they're paying their taxes for? All they see is a value come in, and they don't want, most of them have the attitude that I don't want to appeal something because somebody's going to come to my house and it might go up a little more. I'm just saying we might want to look at the process, that maybe we can put something in the paperwork that might explain a little better on what's going on, how they come up with these numbers. Because for 15 years now, I've been paying for 4,100 square foot of living space, and that's not what I have. And maybe the assessment is fair for 3,100 square foot of what I have. That I can't attest to, because that's not my forte. But I would like to bring it to attention. I don't quite agree with that, and I think there's a lot more people in this situation. I was told that if you have a window in there, it is assumed you have upstairs in this living space. However, I come from Edenton and Millersville. We have a lot of attics, unfinished attics, that they all have windows in. We'll open them up and let a lacrosse wind come through. There's stuff just like that here in the county. I'm just wondering who else is in this situation that maybe does not know how this works. So maybe we can't do anything for me, but I understand that there is a thing where we could go back 3 years possible if there's a legitimate reason. And maybe I don't have a legitimate reason, but I didn't know what was going on. I have paid for 15 years, and I don't think 3 years of reimbursement for that little bit I've been charged over is too much to ask. So that's kind of where I stand. The main thing is just to bring it out that I'm not sure if all the information is clearly stated when we get these tax assessments. And again, thank you for your time, and I'm sorry.
I appreciate you coming and sharing that with us, and certainly we can continue to look at and make sure that the information we provide is fair. It is important that all our citizens, when they get the assessments, to take a look at those and see what the value of that home is provided based on the tax assessor's assessment. Do have in mind and look at it and say, let's say it's worth $200,000, I know it's worth less, then I'm going to appeal it. I guess that's the first line of defense that we would want to make sure that the citizenry knows to look at that value, determine is that a value that a buyer and a seller that was not under duress to buy or sell, is that a fair amount they would pay in that market? If it is, that really is the only basis you're going to have to know whether you need to appeal it or not, I believe. There's just so much information you can provide on the assessment. It may be something we could look at adding to the assessment that goes out and say, if you'd like to look at the details of
I don't know how they actually go out and do the assessment. I don't know, I mean, you said they measure the footprint, but I don't know how they decide if it's two-story, what square footage it is usable. I just automatically assume it's finished. I don't know. That would be a good for our
I
assessment.
think we might get that something to the assessment that goes out. If you go to this website, you can perhaps pull up the details of how your assessment will do. And that will allow, I'm not sure people will do that, but it gives them an opportunity, it's something we can help them understand the assessment process.
I may be,
Then adding the square footage and everything else.
Yeah, we could add that.
Website, have a point to that, and give people opportunity to go there and base their sheet.
I think ultimately it'll come down to the Board of Assessors, do their kind of hand in hand.
Somebody's communicating.
It's ultimately.
and one more thing, if I can, please. I understand there's a process in place that, I guess, state law, that if they can go out and do a footprint and they can assume the upstairs is finished if it has a window. But in my business, if we come across a process that's not fair and just because it's a law doesn't mean it can't be changed or something can't be looked at. And again, if you take me out of the picture, I'm not sure just pointing some people to the website actually takes care of all of our citizens we're serving here as far as an age disparity. I mean, you can put that out there, but I'm not sure if they know enough about real estate values and what it is. I mean, someone from 40 years back, I mean, it's not exactly intuitive to
I hear
me.
you. I think that's a fair comment. And probably go to, I'm not sure if you're following you or manager to check with our assessor board and see what is the process or procedure for determining that upstairs is complete. I would think there should be a knock on the door and a confirmation of some kind, but I don't know that. I'm not into that process.
I was told point blank that was not how they do things. It's oh, sorry, go ahead, sir. I was just going to say, they told me that is not the process. It's a cookie cutter type deal for the whole state. They don't have time to do that. It's pretty much everybody gets the same treatment, I guess, to keep it fair. They just assume.
I'd just like to look at the process. Do you have something?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that the property owner has the right to file a property return when they purchase their property to list the square footage, what they believe the value is, the number of rooms, the number of bathrooms, the number of heated square footage. That's what property owners should do as soon as they purchase their property within that first year. So if there is a discrepancy, it's called in, and that will allow the tax assessor to go out and maybe go inside the home at that point. But it's really the property owner's responsibility to file that tax return.
That's a good point. We may look into there again, how we can communicate that responsibility and how they can access it.
I've always wondered going forward, at least for the unincorporated county, we issue the permits, we have the house plans. It just seemed like there would be a way to communicate that information.
And my house plans are filed, but I was told that just because my house plans are filed doesn't mean that they look at it.
They're not communicating.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it would be good to look at the communication process, and things that Mr. Nixon's lifting up are good points. See what we can do.
All right. Thank y'all for taking time with us.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. We're going to move into our public hearing on the zoning board. First item on the planning board is the planning board recommends approving an application by Billy Sylvester for a rural business use for a taxidermy shop located at 2415 Sand Hill Road, map number 300, parcel number 19, First District. Stanley, you want to provide any input on that, or?
The planning board had recommended approval with the stipulations listed, meet the requirements of the section 3.15B rural business and the hours of operation, requiring access by public customers, and all shall be Monday through Saturday, daylight hours only. And parking must be provided on site for customers, and then the building permit be approved by the Department of Development Services.
Okay. That introduction will open the public hearing. We see if anyone wants to speak for this rural business use.
I can't understand you, sir.
We're looking to see if anybody wants to speak for this.
Oh, well,
approving this application for rural business use. Are you here to speak for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. State your name, please, sir.
Billy Ray Sylvester.
Okay. Is there any comments you want to?
I just want to open taxidermy shop, man. I don't know what to say.
Okay. You don't have to say anything. That's your privilege either way. Anyone else here speaking for this business use? Anyone here speaking against it tonight? Seeing no one, I'll close this public hearing and see if there's any comments or discussions from the board.
Do you understand stipulations, Monday through Saturday, daylight hours on the commercial customers?
Yes, sir.
Straightforward.
We don't have a plan yet of where it's going to construct it either. That's just the entrance to the property as best we could get a picture, so.
There's a driveway already there.
Okay. And where is the building going to go?
Right the driveway. Right. I gave him a plan. I've already submitted my plans.
All those things have to be verified, they've been submitted and approved, and COs and all issued as they're done, so we'll follow the process. You understand the stipulations that are here with this. Any other questions or discussions? Do you have a motion for alternative number one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one with the planning board and staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd for alternative number one with planning board staff recommendations. Second by Mr. Lippert. Is that right? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed no. It carries. Move to the second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Billy Sylvester for a rural business use for a taxidermy shop at 2415 Sandhill Road, map number 300, parcel number 19, 5th District. Do you have a motion to approve second reading?
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Floyd to approve second reading, second by Mr. Wilson. All in favor say aye. All opposed no. And it carries.
We done? Y'all don't need me no more? I good? I don't.
Item number 3, in the public hearing, the planning board recommends approving the application by Travis Bazemore to rezone 6.60 acres located at 500 Archer Road from AR1 to AR1, AR1 to R1, map number 271, parcel number 32 in the 3rd District. Ms. Diane?
Yes, sir, this is a residential lot, as it says, acreage, but 6.6 acres adjacent to residential. And they just want to divide it to sell off later.
So the separating 1 acre,
It's 6.6 acres.
they're breaking off 6.6 acres.
That's what it is now. They're rezoning it to R1 for the potential subdivision later.
Oh, I got you. All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to open the public hearing for this rezoning. Anyone hereby speaking for this?
It was recommended approval by the planning board.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here to speak in favor of it. I'm Travis Bazemore. I'm actually here on behalf of my grandmother. This is my grandmother's property. It is 6.6 acres. She currently lives in the house, as you can see. It's a house and a barn and all on the I'm looking at the left side of the page. She just wants to have the ability to maybe in the future break off a few of the other lots on the remaining property. So it had to be rezoned to get a little bit smaller lots.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else speaking for this rezoning tonight? Anyone present tonight that wants to speak against this rezoning? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. See if there's any questions or discussion from the board. Have a motion for alternative number 1.
Make a motion to approve the request with staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Motion Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Wilbur to approve planning board staff recommendations. All opposed, aye. All opposed, no. It carries. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Travis Bazemore to rezone 6.6 acres located at 500 Archer Road from AR1 to R1, map number 271, parcel number 42 in the 3rd District.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rhodes, second by Mr. Loper to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 5, in the public hearing, the planning board recommends approving an application by Benjamin Smith for a variance to the 60-foot easement requirement and allow a 20-foot access easement for a lot located at 716 Floyd Avenue, map number 296, parcel number 27 in the 3rd District.
This was previously a subdivision approved with the lot up front being divided off, but the access was not included in this previous, so it couldn't be signed. So they are requesting a variance on the 60 foot because of the width of the lot and asking for a 20 foot.
Okay. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone speaking for this variance tonight?
Yes, I'm the property owner, Ben Smith.
Okay.
Any questions you have about it, I may answer.
Okay, very good. Thanks, sir. Anyone else want to speak for it? Anyone here tonight speaking against this variance? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Confirmation.
Make a motion to approve the staff and planning board recommendations.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Lowe, second, Mr. Loper, to approve staff and planning board recommendations. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Second reading is consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Benjamin Smith for a variance to the 60-foot easement requirement and allow a 20-foot access easement for a lot located at 716 Floyd Avenue, map number 296, parcel number 27, 3rd District.
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lowe, second Mr. Loper to approve the second reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 7, public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Burns Brothers Investments, LLC, to rezone 55 acres of 102.9 acres located at Webb Road and McCall Road from AR1 to I1, map number 39, parcel number 20 in the 4th District. Second.
This is for a surface mine, and as you can see, it's for the rear section of the property and where the blue star is. There was no indication of the access and, going in and out of the property, but Webb Road is an ash road, and this is residential beside it, and there was some citizens at the planning board in opposition, as you will find out tonight.
Okay, that, point out for me on McCall Road, is that the top road?
This is McCall here.
Oh, okay.
This is the Webb Road.
Gotcha.
This is the railroad track.
I'm with you.
All this is residential. Yes, sir.
Very good. All right, anyone speaking for this?
Yes, sir. I'm Dave Burns, speaking on behalf of Burns Brothers Investment. As she said, it's 100 acres. We'll cut 50 acres off for a surface mine. And yes, it was proposed to use Webb Road, but after the planning board, it was decided that it was best to access McCall Road with the traffic. So Travis Bazemore with EMC Engineering is here. He's done the site plan, doing the state mining permit. I'll try to answer any questions that you have.
Is anyone here else speaking for this rezone tonight? We may have some questions later in this board discussions. Anyone tonight wanting to speak against this rezone?
My name is Jim Sipes. I live on the corner of Webb and McCall. I was here for the planning board meeting along with several of my neighbors, and we had some concerns. I don't know if the commission has heard those proceedings and know what those concerns were, or I can go over them again for you if that would be all right.
Sure.
And I'm sure that we're going to hear that they've addressed some of them, and we can go from there. But I was wondering, and my neighbors were wondering, have they done an environmental study for the environmental issues that are going to be raised by this project? How will the project affect the groundwater in the area around the surface mine? And when they start working there with all the equipment that they're going to have, with all the refueling and all the different things they're going to do, is there going to be assurance there's not going to be any fuel, oil, or anything else that gets into the groundwater? Because when you dig that hole, you're going to have a lot of groundwater coming in and out of that hole. As anyone, we talked about Webb Road, so they've gone and they've answered that, which was good. Noise study. You got people along McCall Road or along Webb Road that work at night, my son being one of them, my neighbor up the road being another. And we were told at the planning board meeting that they can do this 6 days a week, pretty much all day long. They said there's going to be a reclamation project 5 years down the road. And the biggest thing is the traffic that's going to be put onto McCall Road. As you know, the corner of McCall and 21 has just been annexed into the city. I've been told, I've been to the planning board, or the planning office, I've been to the city. They're talking about 75 single-family homes, 6 acres of commercial, plus 6 to 15 acres of R3, which can be apartments or townhouses, with one entrance and exit onto McCall Road. Right there where McCall and 21 is, we've already got a situation that's probably the most dangerous in the county. If you live close by, you know there's wrecks there constantly, and I'm surprised we haven't had somebody killed. Now, if you're going to do the same thing down at McCall and Webb, I was told by the planning office that once they get on McCall Road, they've got to go to the nearest main road. That's going to be 21. So they're going to have to turn, coming out of there, they're going to turn right to go down to McCall Road. I don't know how many trucks they're going to have, but if you drive from Little McCall to 21 right now during the day, you will pass between 13 and 19 trucks coming off of Courthouse Road every 15 minutes. So if you multiply that times 4, you got about 80 trucks an hour, more or less, already on that end of the road. So now you're going to add all these new homes, all this new commercial right there on the corner, plus you want all these trucks coming out of there for the next 1 or 2 years, whatever it's going to take. The water, we discussed that at the last meeting. When you dig a hole where I live, if you dig 2.5 foot, even at dry times, you're going to get water. That's how close the water table can be down in that area. It's kind of low. When it rains, water pools up around everybody's house. So when you start digging a 55-acre hole in the ground, you got water, and it's going to go all over the place. I want to know where the water's going to go. You can talk about digging a retention pond, but even if you dig a retention pond, you're still digging a hole. Where's that water going to go? If one drop of that water leaves that property, then they're going to have a stormwater permit issued by the state of Georgia through EPA, actually by EPD, under the NPDES program. So my question is, how are you going to keep all that water from either the retention pond or from the surface mine, borrow pit? How are you going to keep all that water, any of it, from getting to a ditch, either on Webb Road or McCall Road? You're going to have to show me that you can do that with that much water, and it's going to be a lot of water. And then if it is approved by you guys, we asked last time, or it was brought up by the planning board, about a traffic study. I don't know if the traffic study's been done or not. If it has, have they taken into considerations the things that I've just talked about? All the new homes, all the new commercial that's going to go in at the corner of 21 and McCall. Have they taken into consideration the fact that if you live on McCall Road, you already know that it's the Rincon bypass. An untold number of 18-wheelers turn off there so they don't have to go through Rincon and get the red lights. They go straight down McCall and come out at 21 down by Parkers. My neighbors will tell you the same thing. It's every day, sometimes more than others. We've already got dump trucks coming from another facility that I won't name to come down McCall Road, 2 or 3 at a time every day, going down to Blue Jay and going out that way doing something else, not even associated with this. I guess the thing I'm talking about is how much traffic can one little stretch of road handle. Plus, you've got a trailer park right there at the same location with all these kids in the schools, in the school buses that come in and out of there. So those are my questions, those are my concerns. A lot of them are about the traffic that's going to be there and what's going to happen. Again, my biggest concern is the water. Where's it going to go? How are you going to contain it? And what are you going to do with it? Thank you.
So I'm looking down, I was listening, I'm reading through the things that you're sharing, what I'm seeing on the information as well. Anyone else speaking against this rezone tonight?
There are other people here off on McCall Road, and they're all meeting, I guess, on what I just spoke to y'all about. Is that correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Correct.
If you're here in support, I guess, just to know who's here, why don't you lift your hand if you're here in support of what the gentleman just shared? Just the commission see who's here related to this item. Anyone else speaking? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and we'll let the commission have questions and discussions among us, with you among ourselves. Any comments or discussions between the board?
Well, they got some things on here, traffic study, we never made anybody have a traffic study, and I don't know why they need to have that.
Curious to know why staff denied this.
Yeah, that'd be helpful to revisit what the basis of the staff's denial is.
Based on the comprehensive plan and the area, that's one of the reasons, and the residential in the area.
So based on that, you want to reverse planning zone?
I'm sorry.
If I read this correctly, planning and zoning approved it.
Yes, with the stipulations listed.
There are some
We have
concerns.
stipulations there.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Say again?
I said the stipulations are listed, and you may have a copy of that.
Stipulations are extensive, they would have, but I've got some concerns I just want to kind of bring up and for the board to consider as we're looking at this. And anyway, one is the road maintenance. I want us to think about it, McCall Road is going to be part of the parkway eventually. And it right now is rated for 56,000 pounds, not the weight that's going to be, a lot of these trucks that already have on it, that probably shouldn't be on there. You're going to have a lot more road maintenance. So there is something that needs to be done on that road. If you realize something like this, in my thoughts, from the access to 21, at the very least, that road's going to be torn up. It's going to be our responsibility to repair it. It's not like it's a road that's been trafficked very little. We're going to have some more. This is a road that's very trafficked. It's going to have a lot more. So, and that is a concern I have as well. And traffic safety issues. I know I come to that intersection every day. It is very difficult. If you're coming off Courthouse Road, you can't even get on the car road during certain hours. You got to just sit there and wait and wait and wait. I know there's apartments coming. I know there's commercial coming. There's a lot of questions that I have about the safety of that intersection, bringing in trucking, any kind of trucking industrial. Aside from your comments you made in the master plan, this is one of the residential area. But for the most part, this board has been very supportive of property owners doing with their property what they want to do because they own the property. At the same time, we've got to look at things like traffic and safety when it comes to those things.
Will this be returned to residential with this then?
Well, and that's what I'd like to know too. I don't know, we don't have the plans before I can encourage you to approve this. I want to see what it's going to look like in 5 years. And I want some hours and all kinds of things. So go ahead, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Chairman. And you know, in the past, the commissioners and the planning board have set hours of operation, days of the week, and hours that you could work. So we're open to any discussion for that. But I would like to ask, because I've heard a lot recently from some Springfield and possibly from the county that there is discussion on a red light at that intersection. Has anyone understand that.
That's a DOT determination. We ask them to, research that, look at the accidents, the traffic issues. We don't have the authority to put it out like this.
Right.
It's a DOT intersection. They're real hesitant because they say it slows the traffic down.
I understand
So,
that.
we think there's something in there.
That is in the city limits now. That is in the city limits right there, that intersection.
Right, it's still gonna be a DOT project, and we have to all encourage them, city and county alike, to, they can see a petition for it.
I didn't know. I had been told that the wheels were turning on possibly a red light of that intersection.
We got an email on that a couple of weeks ago, and the state's looking at it pretty hard.
Pretty hard. It needs some things, it's gonna need a right turn lane, without a doubt. There's going to be an access to that road if you allow this, and there's gotta be some improvements to that road, because it's already getting, it's going to be rougher, it's getting rougher, it's going to be rougher. There's a lot of concerns I have that you wouldn't have on some other more rural areas where fewer trucks are coming out and fewer traffic. And I do have a concern that, I know a couple of years ago, we approved, it was in a more rural area, not that many trucks on the road, so I felt comfortable that the property do what it wants to do. But I do know I ride by that, and the buffer is not adequate. There was things they said they were gonna do that really frustrate me, because I sit there and tell constituents, you will not even see that, they got a 50-foot buffer, and they cut every single tree down, except one little row of trees. I mean, seriously, one little row. And you can clearly see the pit, it looks like an industrial site, and it's right next to a residential community. And that frustrates me as well.
Could we get the site plan put back?
Sure.
So if you see the green line that divides it, and that's one thing that we had in mind when we divided it, was to leave the bottom left along Webb Road. I mean, all that's going to be wooded. The pit will be in the back where it borders the railroad track, the woods, and then Mr. Francis and Miss Shirley Palmer's field. So we moved it as far away from the residential area as we can, but to be honest, you've got a 4-lane highway, you've got a railroad track, and if you put the stipulations on it where the dirt's only dug during the day, I mean,
Make me feel better. Ken, do we not have a drawing of where it's going? I see the star, but I can't envision how much.
That's just something I put there to identify.
yes, sir. So
That was.
I mean, be able to see the 50 acres?
How about just deal with the access?
50 acres, the access, there's so much information I feel like we need before we can move forward with.
I can maybe shed some light on a little bit of it. So the 55 acres, we talked earlier, originally that little old piece that's jetting out at the top, that was going to be out the Webb Road. Obviously that'll go away now, and there's in y'all's ordinance, it's 100 foot off of a right of way. So there will be a 100-foot buffer on that side. I think it's 50 foot off of,
Give him the label.
But y'all won't see it.
Yeah, we can say that.
It'll only point there.
Oh.
Y'all,
Keep the point up there on that.
Travis,
I'll turn it on.
use the yellow button.
Yeah, I'll turn it on.
Okay.
so right here is where original, when we went to planning board, we were going to come out on Webb Road. That obviously is not the case anymore. So there in y'all's ordinance off of a county right of way, and I think this ordinance went into effect a year or two ago, it's 100-foot buffer will be on this side. Then you have railroad track.
Is that an undisturbed buffer?
I think so. He said it will be.
Is that in our ordinance? Because the one I'm thinking about, they cut the trees down and was not disturbed.
If you give me about 2 seconds, I can tell you.
And they literally have one pine tree.
Says it.
They got a farm of dirt. It's like it's about.
Well, this might be the issues with it. This is what your ordinance says. Excavations shall not be nearer than 100 feet to any school, church dwelling, or highway right-of-way. This section shall serve as the buffer for requirements, surface mining operations in I-1 zoning districts. So it don't necessarily say you can't clear it, it just says you can't excavate within 100
I mentioned
foot.
that earlier to our planning department that we need to relook at this pit.
But the applicant said that they're fine with having a undisturbed right there.
Well,
So
I'm confident we would need to list that as one of the stipulations of undisturbed. vegetated buffer for the 100 feet. About what I would request from the board is at your pleasure.
So then on the other side, you know, along this property and line and this property line and this property line, you would have a 50-foot is what your ordinance calls for.
So how much property is in the green line where your dot is now? How much property is where?
Right here,
How big a pitch you gonna dig?
What it says on it's 56 and the
it's
water.
56 acres.
How much of it's going to be?
Piece of the whole piece is what you're looking at.
That's that entire parcel, I say parcel. So
The green line.
above the green line.
The
is
green line
56.
and purple line is 56 acres.
55 acres.
All this is 56 acres.
All that's going to be a pit.
Minus any movement you need to get around the pit for per the EPD and the buffers. So you're talking about maybe, say 10% off of that. So you're looking at 40 to 45 acres. I mean, as much as, you know.
What about access?
So, yeah, so access, so after this was established that we wasn't gonna come on a web road, we're not showing it on this plan because this was submitted before, but what we're proposing is gonna have a 100-foot or so, 100-foot strip that we're gonna permit in the, with EPD as the haul road, and it'll be somewhere either, I don't know if it's gonna be right on the property line or right off, but it'll be, the existing road for the property off of McCall is somewhere right in here. You can kind of see it and it comes back around. So it'll be between that existing road and is where the haul road will come out. So it'll be close to where the existing road comes out to McCall now. And I just to answer a couple of the questions or try to, there was a comment made about the, when the trucks come out, they have to go to the nearest main road. I'm not aware of any of the rules. I mean, which way they go is going to determine where they go in to haul. I mean, if you get a job on the south end of the county, you're not going to go out to 21, you're going to go down McCall.
I think the law stipulates you go to the first.
Only if you're overweight.
So if the road can't handle the weight.
What is the average weight of these trucks when they're loaded?
35,000.
Oh, so the truck is below
It's not as big as a dump truck, unless you're going to use the.
No, they're just standard dump trucks.
Okay.
If you dump truck's about 22,000 pounds or whatever they put in it. Probably around there, you're good.
Okay.
I mean, the pit on low ground, I mean, Blue Jay Road, I mean, it's just like McCall, and I mean, it's going to be just like that, and then they haul either way. They come out on the Blue Jay and go either way.
Stipulation for that on dump trucks would be for all this.
I agree, I can see that.
So I'm just saying, bringing that up because that may alleviate, you're not going to have every truck coming out and turning right. You're going to have some turning left. I'm sure you are.
That makes my thought that might damage the road if it's not over 6,000 limit.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't have an effect on the road in that manner. It's just going to increase traffic, which was one of my questions. What, I mean, dump trucks per day, per week, are you anticipating if you got some kind of ratio in mind?
I mean, it's very sporadic depending on the demand. I mean, it varies a lot from what my experience.
Some kind of ballpark where you would even be looking at this piece of property. What do you think you get out of it?
I mean, I would say on average, maybe on a between a bad day and a good day, 50 to 100, maybe 50. Because some days you might be 0, and some days it may be 20, and some days it may be so.
That depends on the market.
Right.
Diane, were there any, I think I'm just missing it, is there any access, decel, XL lanes recommended with this?
It was a right turn lane from the call that suggested, and that was a recommendation from
That's
the
the right turn
engineer.
from the call getting on 21, so we don't back up traffic, right? That's what you're talking about
The
there.
call coming
A call coming in.
that way,
21,
turn right. And
looking at the
he
right turn lane, right?
Well, he recommended a traffic study for the left turn lane.
Yeah, that's, where's those right turn left, turn? That's at 21 in the call. Correct?
Well, at the property, he's recommended a right-hand turn lane.
Okay.
Okay, and then on the left, he's recommending a traffic study to determine if the left turn is needed.
I got you. So there will be an XL lane recommended.
And one question I had about that is, unless I totally missed it at the planning board, the only part of the stipulation that I remember hearing is at the last minute it was thrown in to do a traffic study. It wasn't stipulated to do one for a left or a right, unless I just completely missed it. And I didn't remember hearing anything about having to do a right turn as a stipulation. So that might have been staff's recommendation, but I don't believe it was the planning board's recommendation, unless I'm just completely misspeaking. But I had a question about that. I mean, we would like to request that those stipulations not be a stipulation, mainly basis on very sporadic. You don't really know loads coming in every day, and it's never been required for a surface mine before. It's a
That's based on traffic, so there would need to be a traffic study, because it may be required based on a traffic study.
Well, the other thing too is if you, I was thinking, if you say you do one and you're required to do something, the lifespan of this project or this property, you know, over 50 years, 3 years, 6 months, however long the dirt's there, and they're gonna be digging, is very temporary. And I know some people, 3 years is not temporary for maybe some people, but over the lifespan. And so say you put in a bunch of turning lanes and all, then when you go reclaim the pond, it's gonna be basically traffic improvements for woods.
But you're saying
because the pond,
this pit would not be a pit but for 3 to 5 years? I heard you said 5 years earlier, but
no, I'm saying it might only be a pit for 3 to 5 years, or it may be 6 months if they get a big job and haul a lot of dirt.
it could be 10,
With
20
the
years.
turning lane, I mean, this is gonna will this be back or developed for residential after it's turned back?
If it was residential,
I mean, once it goes
yeah,
back.
temporary, build up 150 houses on that 50 acres, and you got traffic forever.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're gonna need
Probably
a
300 to 400.
If you were to do that.
Yes, if it was residential with homes with the new densities that were times 2 vehicles to the home, I mean, forever and ever and ever. But yes, at completion, you know, the state requires this to be I-1 for the surface mine. So the I-1 zoning is only for the surface mine. And once it's completed, it will be grass, sloped, graded, and it will either go to residential for just a few homes, or it will go back to agricultural.
So to meet that part of the stipulation, that's more, because I definitely wouldn't want it if this gets approved, continue to be an I-1.
No, sir. So at completion, we will be back here in front of this board to rezone it back to a much less.
Is there a time limitation you put on this?
I mean,
Like you
that's.
said, this thing doesn't need to go for 20 years.
Well, it won't be 20
I mean,
years, not with the demand for dirt.
You know, Baker Pond is very similar to this right across the road, and we all know how fast they dug that, but we don't foresee it being that fast. I mean, we're thinking it's probably.
Times of stipulations set that, you know, nobody can tell what the economy's going to do. Everybody thought it was great in 2007, and
Right.
you know, all of a sudden nobody's buying dirt. So,
I don't know.
I would say a good estimate is three years.
That's about. I mean, it's kind of tough because this is kind of the first step of the process. You got to go through the county before you can go to the state. So until you go through the county and you get through the state, you can't really contract any or speak to any contractors to really know who's got jobs and where the dirt needs to go.
Speaking of the process with the state, I mean, some of the questions that came up earlier, y'all will be addressing those with the state and the DPD as well. So, I mean, like you said, this is the first part of the process. I mean, there's more you have to go through.
Right, it's like I said at the planning board, and I can repeat some of it, but environmental concerns, I mean, you have to go through a pretty extensive permitting process with EPD and get a mining permit. The gentleman was right, you do also have to, since it's industrial, you will have to get an MPDS, industrial NOI with the state, and whoever operates the pit will have to comply with the stormwater discharge for the state's requirements. And oil leaks, I mean, you have to have BMPs in place, and they have people that go around and they will shut you down. somebody gonna be out there every day? I mean, I can't speak on that, but, I mean, they do have measures that you have to do to combat all that. Groundwater, my experience with these surface mines, that, you know, it don't affect, most people's on deep wells these days, and it don't affect the groundwater, but there may be something that I don't know about, but I'm not aware of any of that. Noise study, most of these pits nowadays, and I think the Burnses will be doing the same. With the cost of fuel, the pump will be electric, and so you won't hear it. It won't be a diesel pump because you can't afford fuel to run to pump. And brought up about stormwater. I mean, we have to look at that with the permit, show it on the plans where it's going. It has to, I mean, we obviously have to follow natural drainage, but there's measures that they do. There's different things they do. Rim ditches, they do separate small ponds that the water has to settle and it has to be fairly clean. And like I said, that NOI stormwater discharge will be they'll have to meet all the guidelines of it to pump the water.
I think Mr. Deloach, you said that the state pretty stringent on the land disturbance.
Yes, I mean,
They did monitor that.
yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, this is just the beginning
Yeah.
of their process.
To explain to the question about the water, that is pretty stringent. They get pretty serious about wetlands and groundwater.
You have to show wetlands. You have to show they do historical check to make sure there ain't, you know.
And then the county also does, just so you know, we do follow-up inspections related to those things.
Yeah.
Engineering specs are given to us, and we work with the state, so it's monitored on all sides. So that's that. You know, one of the things I wish, because there's so many stipulations in there, I did read before the meeting tonight, but I wonder if we need to, if the board may want to move forward with approval or tonight, but I wonder if it'd behoove us to table this particular item for a couple of weeks to come back and look at the stipulations and talk about what we talked about and make sure, like the vegetative buffer. For instance, the noise that was looked up earlier, I live pretty close to pit, I never hear them. I'm not, particularly if you're off the road like you're showing here and you do the buffer, I think that's not going to be a huge issue. It's not where I'm living. My issue is that we can actually see it. It's like an industrial site right next to some really nice houses. And that just shouldn't be. That's not character with our planning and our master plan. And I want to be sure we have stipulations that prevent that.
And like I said, I don't think applicants have a problem with that being, you know, the buffer being undisturbed.
And most of these stipulations they've got to go through them anyway. I mean, they've got to do that. I mean,
Well,
they don't have a choice.
It says traffic study, is that required at this?
I think we need to look at having that done because of that intersection is so busy. We may need to require an XL lane.
One thing I would say about that, just because I'm a little familiar with the other projects, I think one was required for the subdivision down the road.
Think what?
I think one was required for the subdivision closer to 21.
And that's in the city. We don't
Right.
have that. We don't have any.
So, and then you got other things that are coming down the pipeline too. And so, I mean, you're going to wait each one of these little people
Yeah,
do
absolutely,
one?
absolutely. But either-
No, I'm saying it would make sense if you was going to have one, maybe to do one, because it's going to be the same exact report over and over and over. If
I got you. Yeah.
I'm just bringing it to y'all's attention, because there's other stuff, and you may want to, if you're going to require one, you may want to, because it don't make a whole lot of sense for each person half a mile down the road, 100 yards down the road to do one when there was already one done, and you can kind of tell.
I can't speak to that. I think it probably does make some sense because these XL lanes are based on the traffic study and what's coming in and out.
I understand.
We may not need a quarter-mile lane. We may only need 125-foot here and 200-foot here. That's a lot less expensive for developers to do that. And I don't know, it's our obligation to put XL lanes in. Usually developments require that of the developers when they develop property on our roads for safety. So I do think there's a reason to look and see, is a traffic study required, and look at safety issues. I'm not saying I'm against what you're trying to do, because
I understand. I just wanted to bring it up.
Be able to use your property for what you'll use it for, but I do not want to inherit some issues that we might, by taking a couple of weeks to look at these stipulations. But, you know, but it's-
We just okayed that crossroads on Courthouse Road. I mean, they didn't have to go through all that. Well, they had to go through most of those set things that we require in the state.
What about courthouse and McCall?
Courthouse, you know, what it goes off of Courthouse Road.
Yeah.
They don't have no turn lane there, they don't have nothing, it's a 40-acre pit in there.
They don't have the traffic issues of this one. And that's the one I'm talking about, that they didn't do the buffers.
You think it's Little McCall and there's Courthouse?
It's on both, yeah.
It's on both of them. So, I mean, I don't know what.
You know, board's pleasure, I understand the motion, but I would recommend you take another couple of weeks and digest the actual stipulations.
I know Webb Road's, you address that.
Where, that's not an
They did
issue.
away with Webb Road.
Definitely gonna have access on the McCall.
1, 2.
Can I ask, you mentioned the buffer on the Webb Road. What about the triangle right here?
The other two sides, it says it's a 50-foot off of property lines. Is what the county's ordinance said. And I think the only ordinance that the state requires is a 25-foot buffer off of wetlands. So I think we won't have that.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure? All the information you received, what's your motion?
Well, 95% of these stipulations, they've got to do regardless of what you do.
Yeah, I think there's one or two you might want to
You
come tweak and look at, make sure.
You gotta do 1, you gotta do 2. They took care of number 3. Number 6. Number 7. 8. 9. 10.
To get a motion to move forward, would you consider approving a non-vegetative buffer of 150 foot? And then that requires us to have another reading, which gives us an opportunity to review it one more time. Because you can't, these reading night, you make the changes. It keeps it moving, but it gives us a chance to come back and look at and make sure that we got all the stipulations.
When you're saying 150 foot, you mean just on
No, 150 inside.
the 100 on the Webb Road side?
You're not changing our ordinance, but making sure it's adding to it stipulation that
Instead of-
vegetated.
It can't be clear if you want 100 feet.
It has to be a vegetated buffer. Can't be dirt, burn. That's what happened to Southern Colorado, we're talking about in the courthouse. It did create an eyesore.
Y'all have any problem with that?
No.
I mean, just clarification, you're saying 100 at Webb Road?
Well, you can tell me the buffer was 100.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And then 50 feet, the rest,
Whatever the ordinance calls for.
whatever the ordinance calls
It's
for.
going to be a vegetated buffer.
Undisturbed, uncleared.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Plant trees, whatever you want to do.
Well, there's already trees. I mean, you're gonna buffer against the railroad, you're gonna buffer against woods, and you're gonna buffer against our property. I mean, the only real is behind Mr. Francis's house and at Webb Road.
Yeah, I don't think we should require you to plant trees, but just don't take them out.
There, I mean, it is,
Leave the vegetated buffer.
it's very thick. I mean, if you leave 50 feet, you won't see through it.
That makes a lot of dust, it makes noise, and it makes the eyesore, and it can provide the opportunity for you to use your property where you want to use it, but not disturb your friends around you. And then we have the daylight hours of operation. Does that mean, what does that mean? Does that mean more specific, like?
That's on here, that's one of
I know the reason because you go to dusk, at the middle of summer, it gets dark about 9:30, you get 10, I'm not sure that's a reasonable hour.
And it used to not be that, but about a year ago, the county commissioners changed it to that, approved the ordinance. And it actually, the ordinance actually says that state permitted are exempt from those hours, is what it actually says. But they're not even asking for that, but it actually says Monday through Friday, that you can't haul from Monday through Friday, basically from dawn to dusk, or dusk to dawn, and then on Saturday. But state permitted mines are exempt from that. So I guess that means they could do 24/7. I mean, I don't know. That's what the ordinance reads, and it was kind of confusing.
You saying our ordinance reads that way?
Yes, sir. I could show it to you.
24/7?
Well, it don't say that, but it says they're exempt from those hours.
State mining permits exempt from.
I can show it to you.
Oh, you may state that.
But, I mean, we would,
Stipulations can be put on it.
that is correct. And we would agree to,
Yeah, they're fine.
we would agree to Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
You know, the dawn to dusk, or 6 to 6, or 7 daylight hours, whatever, however it reads.
Well, maybe you should be more specific. I'm just saying daylight hours, it's 9:30 at night, it's not in the summer. So should it be
7 to 7.
an hour after sunrise and an hour after sunset? I mean, before sunset?
7 to 7.
I need more concerned with school traffic times.
I'm telling you, school traffic, that's why I'm going to go to the traffic study. Is traffic study important this?
We,
It's not the motive.
It's up to the board.
Stipulations, how many stipulations?
Yes,
That
sir.
is in the motion by the planning commission.
It's in the planning and the state recommendations for
A
traffic
traffic
study.
study to determine if left lane is needed and a right turn lane from the top to mining operation.
I'd like to see that.
That's
statement
on that
just for
100
the
foot.
safety. Huh?
We were kind of down, you're not gonna do anything on the front property, right? You're not gonna disturb, so that whole side, the only portion would be that top corner by the railroad that would remain the 100 foot. The rest of the bottom property, the other 55 acres will still be with, so that buffer will still be there, except where he's gonna put the road. Right, bottom property from staying wooded. The only thing you're gonna disturb is the top portion.
That is correct.
All this is wooded, except for a haul road right over here in this area. That'll have to be cleared for a haul road.
50 foot undisturbed on that line.
That's no problem.
It can be for the haul road, yes. I think it's any part of the mining operation has to have the buffer.
Am I right to say we would, if this were to be approved tonight, first reading, we would have to have a second reading at a later date? Because stipulations got to change because of the road, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we're not doing a second reading tonight, it's in the middle of that. So that will give us the 2 weeks till the second reading.
To relook at some of the stipulations.
So make a,
So say that again, if you don't mind, Phil.
we cannot have a second reading on the same night if there are any changes to the stipulations.
So if you do away with.
So even if he makes a different recommendation, you can't have a second reading.
Only if we approve it.
Gotcha. I got you.
Webb Road is on here.
I got
We
you.
don't do away with that, so anything.
So that there's
on here.
No, I understand. I got you.
Got to have a second reading.
Gotcha.
So if we okay with, stipulations that they got for the planning board, and then we can address.
What I'm saying is in 2 weeks, that'll bring us right back here for a second reading and we'll probably have some information.
See if we can bring this to, and we'll see what the board is, what direction is going. Can we have a motion then for alternative 1 with 2 stipulation changes?
Be number 2, planning board.
I'm sorry, alternative.
Make a motion to, planning board stipulations.
Well,
And that would cover everything that's on here now.
well, we got to make the adjustment on the board, which would be no access to Webb Road and 100 foot in the vegetated buffer. You add those 2 to the stipulations, then we have to come back and visit this on second reading. All right?
Yes.
If any stipulation change.
Any stipulation, we got to change. We can't make it a second reading tonight.
And further changes can be made at second reading. That's
Yeah, I know
what- Yeah.
Mr. Lepper's trying to make a motion to approve alternative 2, but he needs to make a change to one of the stipulations, which you can't access Webb Road, right?
Just do it. With the planning board,
Before y'all do that,
stipulation.
before y'all do that, what's the answer about the traffic study?
I'll address that in just a minute, sir. You can't just make a motion for alternative number 2 with no change, and then we can do the second reading. Because alternative 2 is planning board
Okay.
recommendations, okay? Staff recommendations.
All right.
All you have to do is add the elimination of the road.
We need, that's what I was asking for. Motion to approve alternative 2 with the elimination of the use of Webb Road.
Webb Road.
If you leave that's fine, we can address the vegetation in the second reading.
All right.
I have a motion.
I have a motion,
I have a
yes.
second. Before we vote, I want to address this gentleman's concern about the traffic study. What this is going to do for us tonight is going to allow the ball to move forward. It's going to give us a chance to look at stipulations like vegetation, and traffic studies to see if those need to be a part, and we can still add those items in the second meeting. Okay? Did I say that right?
I need clarification, there's too much going on. Okay, so,
The motion, you'll restate it, is alternative number 2 with the change that they cannot have access.
Webb Road shall not be used.
On Webb Road.
Okay, all right, and a vegetative buffer of 100 feet,
They did not add that to the motion,
they did not add.
and that's the motion. And a second for that motion with the Webb Road not access. And we'll call for a vote in just a minute. And if it's approved, at the second reading, we have the opportunity to look at additional stipulations, approval, deletion, or whatever, and make us approve at the second reading. And that's really what I was looking for. It's a couple more weeks for us to dive into some of the stipulations a little bit. Okay. Is everybody clear?
Yep.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the first reading, we have approval. We'll come back and look at the stipulations in the second reading.
We need to table it to the next meeting.
Yeah, we're going to table the second reading to the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I was under the understanding that the planning board also said that Webb Road was not to be used, that McCall Road would be the access. And correct me if I'm wrong, Travis,
But it's not here in our,
Let's see.
Do you have the minute?
It just says access easement onto McCall Road from the Woodland parcel, which was
that was a hot,
to address going to McCall, but it don't,
It says
It
access.
doesn't prohibit Webb.
it doesn't say you can't use Webb.
well, that was the agreement.
I know.
Okay. But also on the buffer, I believe Travis quoted subdivision regs on the buffers. So even though it may have not been written out, I mean, it's covered.
Well, it didn't say if it had to be vegetated or not. It just said you couldn't excavate within that proximity.
I'm still
we're not getting second reading tonight.
I don't know what the difference is. I want a clarification. I understand that.
Yeah, let's do the second reading. We'll table. So do we need the motion to table second reading, just to be clear? Do I have a motion to table second reading?
Make a motion to table to the next meeting.
Second. First, Mr. Whipper, second, Mr. Burdette, to table second reading to the next meeting. So that'll settle that. We'll look at those stipulations and
Thank you, gentlemen.
all in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. So for those who came tonight, we'll have public hearing, not public hearing, but a second reading, but we'll look at the stipulations. We'll be come back and listen to what we said here. It won't be a public hearing, but we'll be a little more about the stipulations. Okay, item 9, public hearing. The planning board recommends approving an application by Baptist Church, Ebenezer for conditional use to allow for a cemetery located at 24 Ebenezer Road, and that number 471 Boston Road, Liverpool, 4th District.
It's basically permitted use as conditional, granted by the commission for cemetery. We have recommended that they put a 4-foot fence around the cemetery, and that's really.
Okay, so this is permitted conditional use. We'll open the public hearing, see if anyone wants to speak for this approval of conditional use.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for your service after listening to that last one. Yes, sir, my name is Kim Callahan, and I am asking for the church to put a cemetery there. I'm not sure anything else you need or not.
We'll see. Anyone else speaking for this conditional use tonight? Anyone who's for?
He's forward, he states your name.
Okay. Jimmy Dressler, I'm the landowner next door, and I'm part of the Baptist Church.
You're good with that?
I'm good with it.
You good with it? This does require that it be shown on plat, right? I think that's our only, so,
So, what do you say? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
It says plat be signed by the zoning.
okay, so it'll be shown. That's, 100 years from now, somebody will know there was
It needs to be
regular.
Oh, yeah, we haven't had a survey for it, and they told me I had to have it platted out in the courthouse. Okay. Sir?
Anyone speaking against it tonight? Anyone speaking against this use? This conditional use? Seeing no one, close the public hearing, move to a motion.
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Roper, second, Mr. Loach, to approve alternate number 1. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries. Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of the application by the Baptist Church of Ebenezer for conditional use to allow for a cemetery located at 2401 Ebenezer Road, map number 471, parcel number 33 of the 4th district.
Make a motion to approve second reading.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Roper, second, Mr. Deloach, to approve the second reading. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It carries. I see no other business. Is there anything else we need to cover from our clerk? And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second, Mr. Roper, to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no.